Most people wait for someone to tell them what to do. They wait for orders, directions, or permission before they take action. But leaders operate differently. A leader looks around, sees what needs to be done, and steps forward. Initiative is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. It's the difference between surviving and succeeding. When you take initiative, you declare to the world that you are responsible for your own future. You stop waiting for opportunity to knock, and instead, you build your own door. The truth is, waiting is a habit, and it's one that keeps people stuck for years. Many say, "I'll start when I get the right job," or "I'll try when someone gives me a chance." But that mindset traps you in a life of dependency. The ones who rise to the top are those who don't wait for the green light. They create it. They don't sit around hoping for better circumstances. They take what they have and make it better. Initiative doesn't mean recklessness. It means responsibility. It means you care enough about your future to act even when no one is watching. Think about it, in every organization, there are two types of people. The first group says, "Tell me what to do," and the second group says, "Here's what I've already done." Which one do you think gets promoted? Which one do you think gets noticed? The world belongs to those who take initiative because they bring energy, creativity, and progress wherever they go. They don't wait for tasks. They look for solutions. They don't ask for opportunities. They create them. The more you act with initiative, the more trust and respect you earn. People start to see you not as a worker, but as a problem solver. Initiative also builds confidence. Every time you take action without being told, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more. You start to trust your judgment, your ideas, and your ability to make things happen. And that confidence compounds over time. It becomes part of who you are. Most people underestimate what they can do simply because they never try. They wait for perfect conditions that never come. But leaders understand that progress is born from action, not from waiting. You don't have to know everything before you begin. Just start. Take the first step, and the next one will reveal itself. Taking initiative is also a test of faith. You must believe that what you do matters. You must believe that your contribution can make a difference. Even when no one notices right away, keep going. Every extra effort, every moment you act without being told, adds to your character. Success doesn't always show up instantly. It grows quietly in the background, built on years of self-driven action. Leaders aren't born with a special gift. They simply learn to trust their instincts and move before others do. When you take initiative, you become the driver of your own life. You stop reacting and start directing. Instead of saying, "I'll see what happens," you say, "I'll make it happen." This shift in mindset changes everything. Suddenly, you're no longer controlled by your environment. You control how you respond to it. That's real power. The world rewards those who act. It always has, and it always will. Those who wait watch others move ahead. Those who act create the path for others to follow. So don't wait for the perfect time, because it doesn't exist. Don't wait for someone to tell you it's your turn, because it already is. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Each act of initiative, no matter how small, moves you closer to your potential. Take charge of your life. Look around, see what needs to be done, and do it. That's how leaders think. That's how success begins. Leadership has never been about titles, positions, or nameplates on doors. It has always been about attitude, character, and mindset. You can be standing at the lowest position in a company and still think like the person who runs it. You can be in a crowd and still stand out by how you think, speak, and act. The difference between someone who simply works and someone who leads lies in the way they see themselves. A person who believes leadership belongs only to those at the top will always remain at the bottom. But the one who understands that leadership begins with personal responsibility starts rising the moment they make that decision. Leadership is not a rank, it is a behavior. It begins with how you treat yourself and how you treat others. A leader doesn't wait to be in charge to start leading. They begin by leading their own attitude, time, and actions. Every day, you are leading something: your thoughts, your energy, your habits, and your reactions. If you lead them well, people will naturally begin to follow your example. The truth is, influence starts with integrity. People don't follow titles, they follow trust. They follow consistency, vision, and strength of character. Think about it this way: the title can make you a boss, but it can't make you a leader. A position might give you authority, but it can't give you respect. True leadership is earned, not assigned. It's developed in silence when no one is clapping. It's shaped by the small decisions you make every single day, showing up early, giving your best effort, keeping your word, and doing what's right even when it's hard. When you do that, you begin to command respect without demanding it. That's leadership in its purest form. You see, a worker mindset focuses on tasks. A leader mindset focuses on purpose. A worker says, I have to do this. A leader says, I get to do this. That shift in thinking transforms routine into responsibility. It turns effort into excellence. When you think like a leader, you no longer see your work as just a job. You see it as your craft, your contribution to something bigger than yourself. You don't just complete tasks, you build legacies through consistency, discipline, and vision. Leaders also think in terms of growth, not comfort. While others seek security, leaders seek strength. They understand that growth requires stretching, learning, and even failing. They don't avoid responsibility, they welcome it because it shapes them into better versions of themselves. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to lead themselves more effectively. They know that leadership doesn't come from waiting for circumstances to be perfect. It comes from rising above them. The most powerful leaders don't shout commands, they live examples. They don't need to be told what excellence looks like. They show it. Their energy, work ethic, and mindset influence everyone around them. When you walk into a room and raise the standard simply by your presence, that's leadership. You become someone who inspires others not because you tell them to do better, but because they see what better looks like through you. The moment you stop waiting for permission to act like a leader, your life begins to change. You start making decisions with confidence. You begin thinking about the long-term impact of your actions. You realize that leadership is not something you step into someday. It's something you live today. Whether you're serving customers, studying, managing a team, or working on your dreams, you can lead right where you are. A leader's mindset says, I am responsible. Not for everything that happens, but for how I respond to it. That's what separates the successful from the stuck. Anyone can show up, but few show up with purpose. Leadership is choosing to rise above excuses, to be the example others can look to when things get difficult. It's not about being perfect, it's about being accountable. When you begin to live this way, everything around you changes. Your relationships, your career, your future. Because the truth is, the world doesn't need more titles, it needs more leaders. And the best place to start leading is with yourself. Most people spend their lives chasing paychecks instead of creating value. They focus on the hours they work, not on the difference they make. But the truth is, the marketplace doesn't reward time, it rewards value. You don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to that hour. When you start to think like a leader, you shift your focus from earning money to becoming more valuable. Money follows value the same way shadows follow light. If you want more income, don't chase money. Grow yourself until you're worth more to the world. An employee mindset says, I'll do what I'm paid for. A leader mindset says, I'll do more than I'm paid for because I'm investing in my own growth. That difference in thinking changes everything. When you go beyond what's required, you separate yourself from the crowd. You show initiative, reliability, and excellence, qualities that every organization, client, and customer values deeply. Leaders understand that if you give more than you're paid for, one day you'll be paid for far more than you give. That's how success multiplies. It's not about working harder. It's about thinking smarter and contributing greater value every single day. When you focus on creating value, your work transforms from obligation to opportunity. You stop counting hours and start counting impact. Every task becomes a chance to improve. Every challenge becomes a moment to innovate. Instead of saying, that's not my job, you begin asking, how can I make this better? The people who think like this never struggle to find opportunities. Opportunities find them. The world is always looking for people who can solve problems, not just perform tasks. That's why the person who brings solutions will always outgrow the one who simply completes checklists. To create value, you must first commit to personal growth. You can't give what you don't have. The more knowledge, skill, and experience you develop, the more valuable you become. A leader spends time learning new things, developing new abilities, and expanding their mindset. While others waste hours scrolling and complaining, leaders are sharpening their tools, preparing for the next level. If you work on yourself more than you work on your job, eventually your job will start working for you. You become so capable, so skilled, so dependable that people have no choice but to notice. Creating value is not about doing everything. It's about doing what matters. It's about finding ways to make people's lives easier, businesses stronger, and results better. When you walk into a room, ask yourself, how can I make a difference here? That single question will change the way you act, speak, and think. Leaders don't wait for assignments. They create impact. Whether it's through creativity, service, or innovation, their focus is always on contribution, not compensation. And as they contribute more, their rewards naturally increase. That's how abundance works. You attract more by becoming more. The person who focuses only on earning will always have limits. The person who focuses on learning and giving will always grow. Value is not measured by effort. It's measured by impact. You can work 8 hours and stay in the same place, or you can spend that same time thinking, planning, and creating something that multiplies results. That's why leaders spend their energy on building ideas, systems, and relationships that continue to produce even when they're not present. When you begin to live with this mindset, work becomes more than a paycheck. It becomes your platform for growth. You no longer need motivation from others because your vision fuels you. You realize that money is only a reflection of the value you've created for others. If you want to change what you earn, you must first change what you offer. The more people you help, the more success you attract. This is the secret that turns workers into leaders and employees into entrepreneurs. So every day, instead of asking, how much am I being paid? Ask, how much value am I giving? Because your paycheck is temporary, but your value is permanent. When you focus on creating real impact, you'll never have to chase success. It will start chasing you. Blame is easy. It requires no effort, no growth, and no courage. Anyone can point a finger, make an excuse, or justify why things aren't working. But none of that changes the situation. Blame is the language of those who have surrendered control. When you blame, you hand over your power to circumstances, people, and events. You tell the world that you are a passenger, not the driver of your own life. But leaders think differently. They understand that taking responsibility is the first step to freedom. The moment you stop blaming and start building, you begin to create the life you truly want. Life is never perfect, and challenges will always come. You can't control what happens, but you can always control how you respond. A worker says, "It's not my fault." A leader says, "It's my responsibility." That difference in attitude changes everything. Responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault. It means you're willing to take ownership of your growth. It means you see yourself as part of the solution instead of part of the problem. The people who rise in life are not the ones with perfect circumstances. They're the ones who take imperfect circumstances and build something better out of them. Every time you blame, you give away a piece of your potential. You focus on what you can't change instead of what you can. And the more you do that, the smaller your life becomes. But when you take responsibility, you take back your power. You begin to see that every setback is a lesson, every mistake is a teacher, and every problem carries the seed of opportunity. Leaders don't run from failure. They study it, learn from it, and use it as a foundation to build something greater. That's how growth happens. Not through excuses, but through ownership. Taking responsibility also builds character. It forces you to look at yourself honestly and make the changes necessary for progress. Growth begins the moment you stop saying, "They should," and start saying, "I will." That single shift in language can change the entire direction of your life. You stop reacting to life and start designing it. You realize that you are not a victim of your past. You are the architect of your future. Every decision, every action, every effort counts toward the person you're becoming. When you stop blaming, you also free yourself from negativity. Blame keeps you stuck in the past, trapped in a loop of resentment and frustration. It drains your energy and blinds you to the possibilities around you. Leaders don't waste time on what's wrong. They invest time in what can be made right. They don't dwell on who's to blame. They focus on what's next. That's how they stay ahead. Their energy is directed toward creation, not complaint. And because of that, they make consistent progress while others remain stagnant. It takes courage to take responsibility. It's much easier to say, the economy is bad, my boss doesn't understand me, or people are unfair. But none of those statements change anything. The question a leader asks is, what can I do about it? That's where real power lies, in the ability to take initiative, to respond with purpose, and to act even when circumstances are not ideal. When you do that, you separate yourself from the majority who wait for things to get better. Leaders don't wait, they build the better. So from this moment on, decide that you will stop giving excuses and start giving effort. Stop blaming others for where you are and start building where you want to be. Every time you take responsibility, you grow stronger. You learn more, you see more, and you become more. Your circumstances may not be your fault, but your response will always be your choice. And your choice determines your destiny. The path to success is not found in complaint, but in commitment. The commitment to take ownership of your life and create something extraordinary with it. Most people think only about the next weekend, the next holiday, or the next paycheck. They live from one short-term comfort to the next, never realizing that this kind of thinking keeps them trapped in the same circle year after year. A leader doesn't live like that. A leader thinks long-term. A leader looks beyond the moment, beyond the emotion, and beyond the immediate reward. Thinking long-term means seeing the bigger picture, understanding that the decisions you make today are quietly shaping the life you'll live 5 or 10 years from now. The truth is, success is never built overnight. It's built over time through patience, discipline, and vision. When you think short-term, you choose what feels good now. When you think long-term, you choose what will be good later. That one difference decides everything: your health, your finances, your relationships, your future. Most people sacrifice their future for the comfort of now. Leaders, however, sacrifice comfort now for the reward of the future. They understand that every small discipline adds up. Every bit of effort compounds over time. What you do daily is quietly creating the results you'll see eventually. You can't escape the harvest of your habits. The seeds you plant today are the future you'll walk into tomorrow. A worker mindset focuses on the present task. A leader mindset focuses on future growth. The worker says, I just want to finish the day. The leader says, what I do today must move me closer to where I want to be tomorrow. That's the difference between existing and progressing. You can be busy every day and still be going nowhere if your actions have no long-term direction. Leaders plan, prepare, and act with purpose. They don't waste time chasing distractions or immediate gratification. They think about legacy, impact, and progress. Thinking long-term also changes how you handle challenges. When something goes wrong, a short-term thinker sees it as failure. A long-term thinker sees it as feedback. Every obstacle becomes part of the process. Leaders understand that the road to success is not straight. It's filled with turns, delays, and detours. But because they see far ahead, they don't panic when things don't go as planned. They adjust, adapt, and keep moving forward. Their eyes remain on the vision, not the momentary setback. Patience is another powerful sign of long-term thinking. Leaders know that great things take time. A tree doesn't grow the day you plant it. It grows because you keep watering it even when nothing seems to be happening. The same is true in life. You keep working, learning, and improving even when results are not visible, because you know that one day your consistency will speak for itself. A short-term thinker gives up when they don't see quick results. A long-term thinker stays committed, knowing that progress is invisible before it becomes unstoppable. When you think long-term, you start making smarter choices. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You become intentional about how you spend your days because you realize each day is a piece of your destiny. You begin to say no to distractions, toxic habits, and unnecessary drama. You start saving instead of spending everything. You start learning instead of scrolling endlessly. You start building instead of blaming. That's how long-term thinkers move ahead while others stay behind. They live each day with tomorrow in mind. So ask yourself, what kind of life are you building with your current habits? Every decision is either an investment in your future or a debt against it. Leaders live with vision. They make choices today that their future self will thank them for. They're not driven by comfort. They're driven by purpose. You can do the same. Stop thinking about the weekend. Start thinking about the decade. Stop counting days. Start making days count. Because the truth is, time is going to pass either way. The only question is, will you be closer to your dream or stuck in the same place? The answer depends on how far ahead you're willing to think. Leadership begins with you. Before you can guide others, you must first learn to guide yourself. The greatest form of leadership is self-leadership. The ability to discipline your mind, control your emotions, and direct your actions toward what truly matters. You can't lead people if you can't lead your own habits. You can't inspire others if you constantly need inspiration yourself. Leadership is not about power over others, it's about mastery over yourself. When you conquer your inner world, the outer world starts to align. Most people want to lead, but few are willing to do the inner work it takes. It's easier to tell others what to do than to hold yourself accountable for what you do. But real leadership isn't about giving orders. It's about setting examples. People don't follow words, they follow behavior. You can talk about success all day, but if your life doesn't reflect it, no one will listen. Self-leadership means doing what's right even when no one is watching. It means being consistent, reliable, and strong enough to do the hard things that others avoid. To lead yourself, you must first understand yourself. You must know your weaknesses, your triggers, and your habits. You must be honest about where you fall short, not to criticize yourself, but to improve. Self-awareness is the foundation of growth. The person who refuses to face their flaws will repeat the same mistakes forever. Leaders take responsibility for their own improvement. They don't wait for life to teach them lessons, they seek them. Every day, they learn, reflect, and adjust because they understand that growth is a daily decision. Self-leadership is also about discipline. Without discipline, your dreams remain wishes. Discipline is what turns intention into achievement. It's waking up early when you don't feel like it, working on your goals when no one's pushing you, and staying committed when results are slow. Discipline is not punishment, it's power. It gives you control over your life in a world where most people drift wherever their emotions take them. When you control your habits, you control your destiny. That's the kind of strength that defines a true leader. Another key to self-leadership is emotional control. Life will test you. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. But the way you respond determines your growth. A leader doesn't allow emotions to dictate decisions. They stay calm in chaos, composed under pressure, and patient when things don't go as expected. This emotional stability is what separates leaders from followers. Anyone can act strong when life is easy, but real strength is revealed when everything falls apart and you still choose to rise. You must also lead yourself with vision. Don't live blindly, reacting to every situation. Know where you want to go and why. Set clear goals and align your actions with them. A person without direction will always be lost, no matter how busy they are. Leaders think ahead, plan wisely, and move with purpose. Every day becomes a step in a greater mission. This clarity of vision gives meaning to your effort and resilience to your struggle. You stop living by chance and start living by choice. Finally, leading yourself means holding yourself accountable. No excuses, no shortcuts. You are responsible for your results. If something isn't working, you don't point fingers. You ask, what can I do better? This mindset keeps you in control and constantly improving. Over time, people notice your consistency, your strength, and your integrity. They start trusting your leadership because they see you live what you preach. So remember, the first person you must lead every day is the one in the mirror. Lead your mind, your attitude, and your effort. Build habits that reflect your goals and make choices that honor your future. The better you lead yourself, the more naturally others will follow you. Leadership isn't about commanding others. It's about becoming someone worth following. And that begins with mastering the person you see every morning when you wake up.